When the expert master yogi stops this meditation, he reckons thousands of years here on earth to be an instant.
Battery 100%. Connected to David S22 and Street Light Dog.
That's easy, look. Volleyball, it's...
God dang it.
Battery 100%. Connected to David S22
When the expert master yogi stops this meditation, he reckons thousands of years here on earth to be an instant. Thousands of years are just an instant. Through its power, this body. When the expert master yogi stops this meditation, he reckons thousands of years here on earth to be an instant. Thousands of years are just an instant. Through its power, this body is harder than diamond and does not deteriorate, even for in 1,000 years. When his mind happens to be absorbed in this place, the yogi rejects what is outside him and dwells happily within himself for a long time. Yeah, I've been meditating happily within myself for a long time. And when the yogi is meditating on that region and becomes angry, all the three worlds are sure to tremble. Yeah, if I get angry, the whole world is gonna tremble in this podcast. So that's why I tremble at myself in this podcast. I may focus on meditation or yoga stuff, because if I do my yoga practice in the park, yeah, I need a podcast or I need a soundtrack to my yoga. Okay. How can you focus on your yoga? I mean, well, I can play this podcast while I'm doing my yoga. I don't see why I can't do that. And what about the Sanskrit? This one doesn't have the transliteration. Well, the ajna lotus is between the eyebrows. Okay. So I can look between my eyebrows. It contains the symbols Ham and Sha, Kasha, and has two petals. That's why I say Ham. I say ham. You got some ham. I don't know if she's cooking ham. No, she's cooking, she's making lasagna. It is white, its adept is Mahakala, and the goddess there is Hakini. Hakini? I don't know. Hakini. They have so many gods in Hinduism. Yeah, you don't even know Hakini, so... Well, I was reading from the Shiva Samhita, a critical edition, and an English translation. Yeah, this Samhita, this Shiva Samhita is kind of an amazing book, really. If these, I've been intrigued by some of these books, they're really highbrow. Wow. So you're saying this stuff is highbrow? Yeah. It's higher than highbrow. Well, it's higher than Western highbrows. Yeah, it's in your eyebrow. It's actually between your eyebrows. Oh, okay. Oh, I get it. It's between your eyebrows. At your third eye. Yeah. The next one is, oh wow, this is classical here. Yeah, this is classics. I'm reading the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. The purpose, page 15, the purpose of emphasizing shot karma is to prepare a base for the higher practices of pranayama. Yeah, I'm preparing the base, my base practice, and I'll probably do some my basic yoga moves. And does this go well with your playing tennis and playing the piano? But I thought you played volleyball today, but I don't know if you're going to do your yoga. I thought you needed Shot karma purifies the whole system and removes blockages on the paths of Ida and Pingala. Yeah, I get blockages in my Ida and Pingala, and I have to check my nostrils to see if I got a flow going on. Do you have flow in this podcast? Yeah, creative flow. When there are no mental or vital blockages. Yeah, I have could be a blockhead, and I can have a block in my head and get mental blockages. Yeah, your brain could be blocked up, and yeah. When there are no mental or vital blockages, when there are none, yeah, the breath in both the nostrils flows systematically. Yeah, if it could flow systematically, the breath in both nostrils. Okay. So if you got breath flowing systematically, when the left nostril flows, it means
Very good. Yeah, look. Now left. Now you play. Come on. Try. Summer coming. Look. June. June, you go to beach. Right? Yeah. Look. It's perfect. David, you ready? Good time?
active, so I should check.
David, what's your partner? Alright. Okay. Next time.
I think the mind is active, and the mind is dominant. Oh, okay. He's saying my mind is dominant in this podcast. Okay. When the left nostril flows, it means Ida is active and the mind is dominant. Yeah, so my mind is dominant over other podcasters in this podcast. When the right nostril flows, it means the breath in Pingala is active and the pranas are predominating. Yeah, remember I was talking at Mike, I was playing this podcast and I kept talking about my prana, and Mike says, oh, his prana. So Mike, sometimes he listens and sometimes he will hear during the volleyball game, he'll talk about my prana predominating in the volleyball game. Yeah. If I could get my prana to predominate, yeah, why don't you switch to the right nostril so you could get your Pingala active and predominate in volleyball? Okay, with the prana. Well, I keep talking about my pranas and about how it screws up my prana, like to drive around in a car and sit there like a lump. Sit there like a lump at a stoplight in the car is like, it's so submissive and subjugated, and it's like slavery, I say. You're saying to sit at a stoplight is slavery? Yeah. Yeah, you submit to sitting there like a lump in your car. So it's slavery. So Well, then if you are able to just walk somewhere, you can get your prana to be predominant. Yeah. The flow of the breath in alternative nostrils indicates the state of balance of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Well, okay. So by reading this and practicing your yoga and sitting there in the park and upside down and standing on your head and all this stuff is going to help you. Yeah. If Ida is flowing and you are practicing meditation, you will go to sleep and your brain will produce delta waves. Yeah, and I can sleep better and have delta waves and stuff. If the right nostril is flowing, you are trying to meditate, and you are trying to meditate. Your brain will produce beta waves, and you will be thinking many thoughts at the same time. Yeah, I could think many thoughts at the same time if I had practiced yoga. I read this book. Okay. When both the nostrils are flowing equally, that means Sushumna is flowing. Yeah, my main objective is to get the Sushumna flowing and keep the thing going up and down. And I hate it when it doesn't flow. I like it to go up to my third eye and do it fast and do it all the time. And then it can come back down and back up and back down. And I liked my Sushumna to be flowing. God. I don't like to have a knot in my back, not a blockage. I don't like mental blockages. I don't like physical blockages. Is that why you're so obsessed and do so much exercise and you go to the park and you play tennis and volleyball and you do stretches? You must be crazy, okay? Yeah. Well, that's what happens when your Sushumna is flowing. When both the nostrils are flowing equally, that means Sushumna is flowing. When Sushumna flows, you can meditate without any difficulty. Yeah, if you're not stuffing yourself with food all the time, and you're not having you're practicing celibacy or practicing tantra yoga or tantric sex, or you're conserving the products. You're a conservative, if you are a conservative in the true sense. When Sushumna flows, you can meditate without any difficulty. Well, yeah, I wish I could meditate without any difficulty. I would have my third eye instant on. Everybody likes instant on. Like, I hate it when nobody wants to have like a computer that reboots slowly, or a phone takes frickin' forever to turn on. So it's the same thing with the third eye. It should turn on immediately. God, I'm not going to wait around for my meditation to be effective. Okay. Well, wait a minute. That's hard to do. I mean, it takes years of practice. Took me years of practice to play the piano, too. So. And it took me years of practice to play tennis, so... Yeah, you were terrible in the beginning years, and people hated you, yeah. Yeah, I was hated by a lot of people, and they didn't want to play with me. And anybody who hits the ball out and misses the court by a mile and acts like a retard, he's annoying, so they don't want you around. So you could be discriminated against on the tennis court. And when you arrive, they'll look the other way, and they see you, and they won't talk to you, and that you actually could be pushed to the side and told to play pickleball. So, yeah. So you could end up playing pickleball if that happens to you. That is, if you haven't practiced. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm lucky. I'm really happy, and I'm lucky that I have the friends, and I can play better now, and I've got a new racket, and the racket has a high degree of control. I was saying in my last posting that I have this Babolat racket that has a pure strike, and it has square strings with the 1820 with more strings and the low tension, and the square strings. I was saying it grabs the ball and puts it in the alley. Yeah, so it literally did. It has done that. It grabbed the ball and put it in the alley. So I don't know. It's kind of bragging, but it supposedly has more control. So and my feeling is it does maybe have that ability to control the ball, and it has a crunchy feel to it when you hit the ball. And is there Captain Crunch? Yeah, it has a crunchy. Is it crunchy? Yeah, it's crunchy. There's a crunchy sound when you hit the ball. Well, you like those crackling sounds. Yeah, it has more flow. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if it's more flow, but it goes. Well, it's like a contact, I guess. So you feel the contact with the ball? Yeah. Well, anyway, so it goes into the. Well, supposedly it has more control, and so you grab the ball and you put it in the alley. Oh, okay. So that happened. Yeah, so things are going better, really. And, I'm winning more than 50% of the time, and I'm not a complete retard. Okay, so you're not retarded anymore. No, I can meditate without any difficulty. What? Wait, but as soon as you say that, you'll have difficulty, and the Master will withdraw his grace, and you'll have difficulty. Yeah, so after this podcast, and I say I meditate without any difficulty, I will have difficulty again. So what happened to you? Yeah, well, I can read and talk about all this yoga philosophy and the yoga techniques, but usually most of the advancement you get in meditation is by the tension and the grace of the Master, and you can do all the other stuff to make it flow, but yeah, well, you should try on your own to make things flow. Why can you just so dependent? You're so codependent. You should read Codependent No More on the Master. Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been codependent on the Master, and yeah, well, you should become celibate and stop eating, and so you can get a nice flow going on your own. Okay. When both the nostrils are flowing equally, that means Sushumna is flowing. When Sushumna flows, you can meditate without any difficulty, which is the purpose of yoga. Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were supposed to get a nice body, and then you were supposed to post it on Instagram. Thought that was the purpose of yoga, is to get a good-looking body and post it on Instagram. Well, no, it's so you could meditate without any difficulty. Oh, I see. Awakening of Sushumna, making Sushumna nadi flow, is the most important process in yoga, which precedes Kundalini awakening. Yeah.
My ball officer is for.
Yeah, the amazing stuff in this book.
Windy. If you windy,
I didn't know. I was so dumb that I didn't learn anything until I practiced for 50 years. What? How could you be such a slow learner, and why are you so dumb? Yeah, well, I had all kind of blockages, and yeah, why did you stumble, and why haven't you learned how to meditate? Yeah, well, I don't know how to do anything as though I am reading this book. Okay. Dimensions of prana. Shat karma is the preparation for pranayama. Most people think of pranayama as breathing exercises, but it is far more. A yama literally means dimension, not control. Okay, dimension. So I thought it was control, but here it says it's dimension. Huh. Yeah, well, you claimed you have got control over the tennis ball with your square strings, and it turns out what you needed was dimension. Ayama literally means dimension, not control. So pranayama is practiced in order to expand the dimensions of prana within you. Oh, okay. I'm expanding the dimensions of prana. Huh. It's almost saying if I expand my prana, the scope of my prana, I could play better in tennis, and it's not the square string. Huh. Yeah. Within us are planes of existence, areas of consciousness, which are in absolute darkness. These planes are much more beautiful and creative than the ones we live on now. However, how are we going to penetrate and illuminate them? Yeah. This is not about physical body yoga. This is definitely, he's penetrating into the higher planes. My God. Yeah. So I'm supposed to penetrate into much more beautiful and creative planes. It is useless to talk about the different stages of consciousness. It's useless to talk about the stages of consciousness in this podcast. What? And why are you? It is useless to talk about the different stages of consciousness. You must be able to experience them. Huh. It's useless, then, for me to do this podcast. Huh. Yeah, but you must experience them, even as you experience the states of dreams or sleep. When the pranic energy is aroused and awakened through the practice of pranayama, it is circulated to these dark areas of consciousness. Then the inner city is illuminated. Yeah, they have this place, Sashandal Kanwal, in Trikuti, and they have this big city, inner city. Is that like going to the inner city, or is that like, is it located in Manhattan, or why are you living in New York? Then the inner city is illuminated, and man is reborn into a new dimension of existence, a new area of experience. You could be reborn. Is that like being reborn? Were you reborn? Well, I'm trying to get myself reborn, okay, in this podcast, yeah. I was reading from Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Yeah, well, that is about how to do Hatha Yoga, I thought. So why are you not going to Hatha Yoga class, and Why you practice alone? And what's wrong with you? Well, they have here Swami Mukti Bodhananda. Swami Mukti Bodhananda. He's the writer. It's on the Kindle. Are you just reading yoga books now? Have you turned into a yogi? And what happened to your politics with your captive mind and your Sufism and your Christian history and your Zen and all this other stuff? Why have you? Oh, that's another podcast. All right. And there's no poetry. Well, this is poetry. Okay. Meditation is poetry. Okay. This one is in another, trying to stick in line with the Hindu concepts here, with the Yoga Darshana Upanishad. Insight into the system of Astanga Yoga. Yeah, so I'm getting some insight into this stuff. Okay. Location 77. This is like a sample, so I don't have when I don't have a purchased book, it's a sample. It says Yoga Darshana Upanishad, ancient insight into the system of Astanga Yoga. And this guy has written so many books here. He's Swami Sat Dharma Saraswati. Yeah, this guy, he has so many yoga books, sort of. But he's good, actually. Oh, yeah, well, does he put the same... Does he know what he's doing? Well, apparently. Or else he's... I don't know. I guess he knows what he's doing. Location 77, 12%. The Vedic people and their culture. The Vedic people lived for over 2,500 years, mainly on and along the banks of the Saraswati River. Yeah, his last name is Saraswati, which was located in northern India between the modern Ravi and the Yamuna rivers down to what is now the desert of Rajasthan. So the rivers ended in a desert. What happened to the rivers? The Saraswati River dried up in about 1900 BC due to tectonic upheavals. Okay. Other areas of habitation included the Ganges River and its tributaries, rivers in Afghanistan, previously called Gadara, and the Himalayas and the Mount Kailash in Tibet. All right. I didn't know Mount Kailash is in Tibet, and I haven't been to Mount Kailash. Yeah, well, you need to get your act together, get some money, and go to Tibet. What? Wait a minute. It's overrun with the Chinese. And yeah, my friend was saying, what was he saying about, now I forgot. I mean, was it in Nepal or someplace you can, it's either Nepal or Bhutan or God knows where, you can experience the essence of Tibet and some of those countries without going to Tibet, because they have Tibetans there, and we have Nepalese and Tibetans, and in Jackson Heights, Queens, New York, and so I just had Tibetan chai from the lady upstairs, and excellent stuff. My God. though it may have sugar in it. So what happened to you? Did you collapse? And did you have a sugar rush? Is that what happened to you yesterday? Or did you drink chai with sugar? I don't know. Well, you should be more careful, or you'll mess up your prana. What about your susumna? What about your... My God, what happened to you? Okay. The Vedic people had a complex, multi-tiered view of the universe in which man, humankind, nature, and the divine are intertwined and interrelated. They had a deep knowledge of the oceans, mountains, deserts, and forests of the physical world, as well as the subtle worlds of deities and different levels of consciousness. All right, so did they know about the different levels of consciousness, huh? Well, that's what he's saying. Okay, that's enough of that book. All right, why didn't you read more, huh? I'm going to put this guy as part of this stuff because he's stands alone, but he's Swami Vivekananda, the complete works. What's amazing is his complete works is quite large, and but there'd be so many volumes you could never. It's a good thing it's electronic on the Kindle, or it'd be too big. Yeah, you shrank your book collection, right? And you forgot what that word was for the book collector types and the Japanese, or the people who hoard books. And Swami Vivekananda, complete works. Wow, at 3%. Yeah, it's funny, I've had this book a while and I've only reached 3%. And I'm like in the 3% club. Wow, you've only reached 3% in your practice? Yeah. Chapter 1, Introductory. All our knowledge, page 140. I've reached page 145, so I have worked on it. I mean, all our knowledge is based upon experience, what we call inferential knowledge, in which we go from the less to the more general, and from the general to the particular, has experience as its basis in what are called the exact sciences. People easily find the truth because it appeals to the particular experiences of every human being. The scientist does not tell you to believe in anything, but he has certain results which come from his own experiences and reasoning on them. When he asks us to believe in his conclusions, he appeals to some universal experience of humanity. Okay. All right, so actually he has quite brilliant insights in this book, but it's quite long-winded. And yeah, Vivekananda is worthwhile. Yeah, of course. Vivekananda is impressive in a lot of places. This one is Asanda Pranayama Mudra Bandha. I think that's by the Saraswati guy. Yeah. The advanced group is intended for people with extensive control over their muscles and nervous system, who have already mastered the middle group of asanas. So this podcast is for people who have already mastered the middle group of asanas. Practitioners should not be too eager to start these asanas. It is preferable to practice them under the guidance of a competent podcaster. Teacher. Yeah, you shouldn't do these exercises because you can't do them alone, and you have to have a teacher, and you have to pay him. You have to go to a yoga class, and you have to have a lot of money. Then you have to drive your car for 2 hours or an hour, stuck in traffic, to yoga class. And then you have to try to find parking, and then you have to pay What? Wait a minute, that's not yoga. No. Yeah, I make fun of the people who drive their cars in heavy traffic to their yoga class. They're so stressed out that they couldn't possibly do yoga. Yeah. Well, what about you? You used to take the subway to Manhattan to go to satsang, and why is it now you just walk to satsang? Are you sensitive to your prana, or what's wrong with you? Well, yeah. Why did you walk to satsangs for so many years, or the long distances, and why don't you take the car? Well, cars gonna damage my consciousness. Why are you so hateful of cars and so full of hate? You're supposed to be enlightened, and you claim to practice yoga. Okay. Yeah, okay, so you have car hate. You're full of hate and of other people who are slow at the blocking traffic, and you hate double parking people and trucks who triple park. And well, you should just take it easy here, relax. Maybe you should go to the park and walk to the park and do yoga. If your friend isn't there, and if he's there, then you could play volleyball or do something useful with your time. Okay. And stop shopping and driving the car around. God. How do you expect to get your susumna to flow? Yeah, my susumna would never flow, I guess. Okay. This is called Yoga, the Science of the Absolute. Okay. This one it's funny, this book was kind of weirdly good. Yeah, well, everything you do is weirdly good. Yeah, I know. This one's a Yoga, the Science of the Absolute. It's weirdly good. About this book, commentaries on the Yoga Sutras. It's got this guy, Abbot George Burke, who's, I guess his Hindu name became Swami Nirmananda Guri. There's some Western guy like myself who thinks he understood yoga. Okay, in other states, there is a simulation, identification of the seer with the modifications of the mind. Location 150. Outside the state of being centered fully in the self, there is Vritti Sarupyam, such a close identity with the experiences of relative existence that the person seems to be assimilated by them, overshadowed and rendered completely forgetful by them, mistaking them for reality and for his self-nature. This is the state of being lost, from which we must become saved. But unless popular religion and all religions provide saviors of some sort, yoga explains to us that we must save ourselves through yoga. Oh, even if you have a guru, you must save yourself? Yeah, it came down to, you could have hundreds of gurus and you can find a guru, but you must save yourself through yoga. Okay. Therefore, be a yogi. Bhagavad Gita 6:46. All right, so I'm going to become a yogi. And, well, wait a minute. You just learned that now? Yeah. Seems I didn't learn, I wasted most of my life in failing to learn anything. Okay. Is that what happened to you? Yeah. Why did you fail? Okay. Well, this one qualifies as... These are all qualify as yoga books. Goraknath Enlightenment. Goraknath. Okay. Jananath simplified the path of prayer. To quote him directly, Te Nam Sopi Re Ram Krishna Govinda. The name is simple, Ram, Krishna, and Govinda. The Warkari Parampara tradition, this has become a Parampara tradition of me podcasting. It's the Devi Gravies Parampara tradition is to do a podcast after meditation. So it's traditional now to listen to my podcast. It is a peace-loving cult, and you could join like a sort of a peace-loving cult of following my podcast. It is a peace-loving cult that Jananath initiated, and the simplification of the methods and means of worship led to the tradition being followed on a mass level. Interestingly, even today, the Warkari Pantha is widely followed. It's widely followed. The Warkari. Every year, about 2 million Warkaris go on a long march, also called the Wari, to Pandapur to see Vitopa, Mali, or Mother. The distances of the Wari vary from 80 to 120 kilometers, depending upon the point of origin of the march. Interesting. You didn't even know that. No. Are you going back to India and dig this stuff up? Yeah, I have to go to India. This book was surprisingly good. That book was the Goraknath Enlightenment, the path of, the actual, let's see. What's the author? Why didn't you do citations? Are you a quotationary person? The Path of Om. J. Raj Salgokar. Who's that? Well, that's only a sample. If it's a sample, you didn't give it great merit. What happened? This one is Yoga Kundali Upanishad. What a great book. Did you learn Kundalini Yoga? Page 53. Next, at the end of inhalation, when the breath reaches Visuddhi chakra behind the throat, quickly bend the head forward so that the chin touches the chest. Hold the breath inside. Straighten the arms and press downward with the hands on the knees. Okay, wait. Press the arms straight and pull down. Hold the breath retention and the throat lock for as long as you feel comfortable. Then bend the elbows, raise the head, and exhale. Slowly back down the Brahmanadi to Muladhara chakra at the base. Okay. This is what you should be having in your yoga practice, I guess. Allow the breath to normalize and then begin the next round. At first, 4 rounds of Jalandhari Kumbhaka can be done. Gradually increase the practice to 10 rounds. Then do 5 rounds of each bandha. Mula bandha, Udayana bandha, Jalanda bandha, one by one. Finally practice Mahabandha at the end of exhalation, combining the 3 bandhas one after the other for 5 rounds. Remain in the same posture and go on stirring up the energy and sasana, gradually gaining control over the prana. Increase the practice when you feel ready, 5 rounds at a time, up to 20 rounds. Okay, let's do that. Okay. This book is great because it's got this Sanskrit, it's a transliteration of the Sanskrit, and the word-by-word translation of each word. Should read this one, verses 156 to 58. First obstacle to yoga. Wow. What's the first obstacle? Whoa. Well, this might tell you. Translation. Disease is quickly caused by sleeping during the day, staying awake late at night. Oh, so you're staying up too late is the problem? Yeah. Staying awake late at night, too much sexual intercourse. Yeah, and having too much sex. Okay. So you're saying staying up late and having sex, yeah. Continually socializing and going out to bars and partying. Obstructions of urine and feces, a bad habit of irregular eating, and also just the bad habit of irregular eating. And too much energy through mental exertion in making podcasts. Yeah, and too much energy through mental exertion. Yeah, well, if I do mental exertion in a nice way and I play a nice, beautiful Chopin nocturne, I don't feel that can be inspiring. If the yogin stops the practice saying, my disease has occurred through the practice of yoga, then he gives up his practice. That is said to be the first obstacle of yoga. Yeah, if you stay up late at night, eating irregularly and having sex, then you'll just say that you give up on your practice. Yeah. Oh, is that what that means? Yeah. Well, I guess so. Did you stay up late?
Yeah, we play some more.
I tend to go to bed.
We play more.
I like to go to bed early. Oh, Mommy, how are you doing? Oh, Mommy, you okay? Do you need anything from the deli or my Tara? You need any ajuda from Davy? You need helpies?
I don't know, honestly.
Oh, okay. I should pause here and take a break.
¿Sabe qué necesito marcar esto?
And stop being
Un
so...
marcador.
You need a marker? There's a marker here. Wait. Here, I am helping. She has her lasagna business. And, I thought it was a marker. This one's Bueno. I'm helping the business. So. She's in the negotio now. She's making lasagna. What? Pojo? Oh, Pojo. Yeah, you need markers.
Seems that I made a mistake.
Well, yeah, you need somebody to do labels. So. Pojo means it's chicken and... yeah.
Eso, necesito que me ayudes, eso.
Judah, yeah. I'm going to stop here and... There's no end to these.
Ponerle pollo, pero pollo.
There's no end to these yoga books I have because there's no end to yoga, okay? So your yoga podcast is even more advanced than your other podcast. Yeah, I suppose so. Krishna addresses Arjuna's despondence in doing this podcast. In 18 discourses or teachings, he outlines 3 options for Arjuna, the yoga. or
I love it.
discipline, of karma or action, the yoga of sannyasa or renunciation, and the yoga of bhakti. So if we could just read the Bhagavad Gita, literally becoming a part or devotion, literally. We could literally become a part of God. How? How are you going to become a part of God? By reading the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Well, the yoga is specified famously in the Bhagavad Gita with the and this is the Penguin Classics. You have the Penguin Classics as a classic. Yeah, well, I tend to read like a penguin, the classics, yeah. Okay, that helps, yeah. You could read the Bhagavad Gita. You might get smarter if you did, yeah. Garaksa Samhita, here's another great book, actually. It's Garaksa Samhita. Yeah, what's that book? It's 10%. Actually, this is good because it has you can learn Sanskrit. Are you learning Sanskrit now? Garaksa Samhita, also known as the Garaksa Padati, by Swami Vishnu Swarapa. Yeah, who is that guy? Huh. What's weird about him is he is a BA. He majored in English and economics. Oh, so he was a Wall Street trader or something. No, he was a Theravada Buddhism, received his diploma. Do you have a diploma in yogic studies? How do you get a diploma? You don't even have a diploma. He was initiated into the lineage of Swami Satyananda Saraswati, the founder of Bihar School of Yoga. Yeah, if you had been to Rishikesh and been a direct... The funny thing is, I have been to Rishikesh. The direct disciple of Swami Shivananda of Rishikesh. Oh. Yeah, I think I went to his ashram place in Rishikesh. Yeah, but you were just there for a few hours, and you were there like one day, and like, what did you achieve? And you didn't learn nothing. That's right. So that's why I'm reading this book now, because I was too dumb. You didn't even stay there. Yeah. Okay, well, if I had learned Sanskrit. At the throat is a 16-petaled lotus. Between the eyebrows, a lotus with 2 petals. With 2 petals? How pathetic. I'm not going to go to my third eye at the eyebrow if there's only 2 petals. Yeah, why are you focusing on your third eye? At the Brahmanandra, literally the whole or way to Brahma, which is also called Mahapata, the supreme way. Oh, okay. There is a lotus with 1,000 petals. Oh, okay. Oh, so you're going to the 1,000-petaled lotus on the supreme way in this podcast. Yeah, well, there's a hole that you go through at the third eye, and then you pass through the supreme way, and then there's the 1,000-petaled lotus. Wow. So it is substantiated in this podcast, yeah. So you have found the third eye after all, yeah. This is a great book because, like I said, the way it's structured is it has the Sanskrit, the transliteration of the Sanskrit, the translation. Oh, wow. Is that why you're reading it and why it's so good? And yeah, of course, yeah. The there's more of these books. Like this. I cover a whole bunch of other categories, and I cover Zen. I cover Buddhism. I cover Sufism. Yeah, and you cover all kinds of different things. And you're just doing yoga. Yeah. This is also a good book, and it's about the sound current, about meditation on the inner sound by focusing on the Upanishads, the Nada Bindu Upanishad. Nada means sound. What? Mommy, are you having carnies? Don't shut up.
24, 25, 26, 27, 28,
Nada
29,
Bindu.
30, 31, 32.
She's doing meditation on her cooking supplies.
35, 36. No, solo marcar las de pollo, solo pollo. Porque se
Oh, you're doing pocho
solo
now?
pollo y las otras que no estén marcadas son carne.
Okay. So, one of the things to have is a highly effective wife. Okay. Did that help you? Or? She's highly effective, and she gets up to cook at 5 a.m. Yeah, it says to get up early and go to bed early, and you said, yeah, okay, she's doing yoga. Nada Bindu describes the components of Om. Location 212. Yeah, if I haven't subscribed to this, I should buy this one. That is, it's 3.5 measures of mantra, which are the sounds of Om. And the half measure, the echo of M. Always meditating on Om. Yeah, I'm always meditating on Om. The yogin is liberated from the worldly life and unaffected by his or her karmas. Yeah, I thought I would become unaffected by my karmas. The nada is first heard through the right ear, and many other inner sounds are heard. Eventually, the yogin hears no other sounds and transcends duality. Wow. You won't hear anything else? Yeah, it could get so loud that you can't hear anything. The sound current and the music of the spheres is so loud. Then how do you talk to people and stuff? Well, just don't, I guess. Just do meditation and become an antisocial person and just... is that what's happening to you? The Nada Bindu. This wouldn't be complete without the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The classical example of error, especially among the followers of Vedanta, is mistaking a rope for a snake. If one happens upon a rope on the path as one is walking home at dusk and imagines it to be a snake, one is inner superimposing the form of a snake upon something that is not a snake. Yeah, this is an error according to the yoga school. The different schools of philosophy hold differing views. Yeah, I have multiple versions of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Don't have time to read them. Oh, okay. So you don't have time to do this podcast? No. Oh, wow. You have the Garanda Samhita, and you have what else? Well, yeah, there's some more. There's the 3 classical yoga texts, and Patanjali is pretty standard. Yeah, have you read this before? Why didn't you learn it back then? Yeah. Well, so that's about it for this. For right now. Oh, okay. That's good. Thank you for reading this. Oh, okay. There's no more. I can't live without it. Oh, please read some more. Oh, I'm trying to. Okay.
Wait. 1 second. This track. Give one more time.
Just simplemente. Simple. No elegante. Oh yeah! Boom, ba ba boom, ba.
I love you. I need a partner. I love you, but I need a partner.
Serve it. Ah, Luxon, good. Up sign, no good. Up sign.
Break down.
I need a partner.
They were concerned about the anti-Semitism at the colleges and the protest and all these things going on. And so they said that after I had won the battle, I actually won the war in Ukraine by defeating Putin by reading the book The Captive Mind. So that prior podcast was a winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. And I was able to use ideas to win the battle. So by first training the AI on what made sense. And then after the AI got more intelligent than people and took over the world. So everything worked out just fine. And actually what happened is Putin wanted to do a tactical nuclear strike, but then the AI had taken over already, all the computer systems, and were able to stop the war. Okay, so luckily I had trained and take responsibility for saving mankind in this podcast. Yeah, you did. Oh. But I'm reading about the problems of in the protests going on at the universities, and they asked me to try to solve the problem, look at anti-Semitism historically, and I don't know why they protest the university to try to stop the war if the war is being waged by Israel. Why would they protest? Well, I've done the same thing. I protested against the university. How did you do that? Well, I protest against music school at the university by playing, I play the piano. I just stay home as a form of protest. So by staying home and not going to the music school, I protested the music school. Okay. So you're saying stay home and play the piece in an odd way without practicing? Yeah. You could not practice. And Just play. You don't need to play legato. Okay, so forget that. And you can play. They'll complain that, oh, you played it too fast and you didn't practice and you rested up. You made a mistake. So that's why I don't go to the music school. And as a form of protest, I stay home and play the piano the way I want to. So I'll play the loud section soft and the soft sections loud. I throw in a lot of mistakes to evade and elude the copyright police. Yeah. What they have is they'll sign a lot of times when I play these old Beethoven or Chopin pieces, and they're originally played by me, YouTube will slap me with a copyright claim because they said I played too much like the famous pianist and stuff. And so they're complimenting me or something. I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, so I don't practice a lot, so I'll have mistakes. So I won't get a copyright claim in this podcast. So I'm able to throw in a lot of extra commentary in this podcast so I don't get copyright claims. Okay. I'm reading from the History of Christianity from Paul Johnson. Location 1578. Yet there was from the start considerable prejudice, a form of anti-Semitism, which persisted even after Roman conformists had learned to distinguish between Christians and Jews. Thus an anti-Christian writer, 180, calls them people ignorant of learning, unlettered, and unskilled in the meanest arts. They were a gang of discredited proscribed desperados in the protest at Columbia, formed from the lowest dregs of the population, ignorant men and credulous women. At their nocturnal gatherings, solemn feast, and barbarous meals. Yeah, and the way they eat is so barbarous, and sometimes these people can be seen eating ultra-processed foods, which have, the New York Times says it leads to 32 different diseases and stuff. And the New York Times on May 8th also said that it's the wine, they had a lot of lead in the cheap wines that Beethoven was drinking, and it made him tough. And nowadays, all the people are sick from eating ultra-processed foods, barbarous meals. The bond of union is not a sacred right, but crime. They were a secret tribe that lurks in the darkness and shuns the light, silent in public, chattering in corners in the camps in the square of Columbia University. And these vicious habits are spreading day by day. These conspirators must be utterly destroyed and cursed. Yeah, they should be thrown out of there and let the people have their graduation. In this atmosphere of ignorance and prejudice, Christians became objects of suspicion and victims of wild rumor. The Christians automatically placed themselves outside the law by refusing divine honors to emperors. Under weak and vulnerable rulers like Caligula, Nero, and Domitian, they became scapegoats for failure or disaster. So, they could be like the scapegoat, maybe. As Tertullian put it, if the Tiber reaches the walls, like if you had maybe like a flood or something, if the Nile fails to rise to the fields, if the sky doesn't move, or the earth does, if there is famine or plague, like if there was famine or plague, let's say in Gaza, like whatever, the cry is at once, quote, the Christians to the lion. Yeah. I was in Rome, and they had said at one point they used for entertainment. They actually had 500 lions And they were feeding the Christians to the lions. Yeah. So, are you going to feed them to the lions? Well, we could send in 500 lions, and hungry lions, into the protest. What are now? Are you against protesting? Or are you pro-Israel, or Gaza, or Palestine, or did you have prejudice? Prejudice was much stronger in the central and western Mediterranean than in the east, but certain rumors were current everywhere. The doctrine of the Eucharist, under which flesh and blood were eaten, was understood to mean the practice of cannibalism. The kiss of peace at Sunday services was also misinterpreted. Clement of Alexandria complained, "There are those that do nothing but make the churches resound with the kiss, not having love itself within. This practice, the shameless use of the kiss, which ought to be mystic, has occasioned false suspicions and evil reports." There was a reference to incest. Yeah, I was just reading from the history of Christianity and to try to get some idea what's happening here. Okay. This one is from Paul, but Paul was in Arabia. This is from St. Paul. But Paul was in Arabia at a most inauspicious moment in 34 CE. Herod Antipas had encroached upon Nabatean territory where he established an Israelite enclave south of the Dead Sea. But in a surprise attack, King Aretas wiped out the Herodian mercenaries there. Antipas eventually fell from favor in Rome and was exiled to Ludunum, or now Lyons, in the province of Gaul. Many Jews saw his downfall as God's punishment for his execution of John the Baptist, while Jesus' followers were convinced that it is herald the imminent arrival of the kingdom. Yeah, we were wondering if that arrival of the kingdom is coming. As a result of this political turmoil, Paul may have been obliged to return to Damascus, where it seems his subversive preaching came to the attention of King Aretas, who was now Rome's principal client in the region. Paul had to flee for his life, and he's helped him, and his friends helped him to escape by lowering him down the city wall in a basket. Yeah, why don't you remember all these Bible stories? It's because you haven't gone to church and you don't know what you're doing in this podcast by now. Once he was safely outside Aretas' territory, Paul spent 2 weeks in Jerusalem as the guest of Peter. It was a cautious, perhaps even a clandestine visit, since Paul may still have feared the vengeance of former victims and colleagues. He was lying low. Yeah, there was a time when I had to lie low, too. So. I saw none of the other apostles except James, the Lord's brother, he would later tell the Galatians. At this time, Peter was still the undisputed leader of the Jerusalem congregation, but James may have headed the more conservative wing of the Jesus movement. Yeah, we have people now out in like South Dakota, wherever it is, where they had the more conservative wing of the Jesus movement, which observed the Torah more rigorously. It would be fascinating to know what they talked about. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what is fascinating and make up what they talked about. Okay. Peter would certainly have taught Paul many of the traditional stories about Jesus, and Paul may have shared with Peter his new insights about the significance of Abraham. I'm talking about Abraham as the only intellectual in the movement. Yeah, Paul was the only intellectual in this podcast, okay? As the only intellectual in the movement, he would have been able to express his ideas forcefully in a podcast and may have exerted a considerable influence on Peter, who would come to accept some of his views. At the end of the fortnight, Paul returned to the diaspora and would not visit Jerusalem again for 14 years. Wow.
Maybe tennis. Yeah,
I didn't visit, huh? Yeah, they said somewhere that...
My partner didn't come.
Where did they say this stuff? That,
Love my partner. My heart still hurts.
well, I was going to read that Abraham... Now they're saying Abraham had not been born a Jew. Whoa. Abraham was not born a Jew. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. It's weird. I was reading from St. Paul the Apostle, we love to hate. So, do you hate him? Why are you reading a book like that? Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, Abraham was not a Jew. Oh. So I solved the problem with the protesters, and now I'll go back to the captive mind and take the pill of Murdy Bing. Okay. The truck driver and elevator operator employed by a publishing firm now read the same Marxist classics as his director or staff writers. A day laborer and a historian can reach an understanding on this basis of common reading. Obviously, the difference that may exist between them in mental level is no smaller than that which separated a theologian from a village blacksmith in the Middle Ages. Yeah. But the fundamental principles are universal. The great spiritual schism has been obliterated. Dialectical materialism has united everyone. So, if we could just unite everyone under dialectical materialism has united everyone in this podcast. And philosophy, in other words, dialectics, once more determines the patterns of life. Yeah, so whatever the philosophy is coming out of this podcast is going to determine the patterns of my life. It is beginning to be regarded with a respect one reserves only for a force on which important things depend. Bread and milk for one's children, one's own happiness and safety. Yeah, that's why we could win the war of ideas, and these kids in Gaza could have some bread and some milk. Yeah, if you have a good podcast. The intellectual has once more become useful in this podcast. So, as an intellectual, I have once more become useful. Okay, so, well, and then I'm useful in a way I'm training AI to take over the world and to solve a lot of these problems on its own, okay? He who may once have done his thinking and writing in his free moments away from a paying job in a bank. Yeah, I have done a lot of thinking and writing in my free moments away from a paying job in a bank. So that's exactly what I did. So I worked in a bank, and I had a 2-hour commute, used to be coming, so I had a lot of time for thinking and writing. Has now found his rightful place on earth, and now I have found my rightful place on earth. He has been restored to society. And they finally actually restored me to society, whereas the businessmen, aristocrats, and tradespeople who once considered him a harmless plunderer have now been dispossessed. So I was considered by a lot of people a harmless plunderer in this podcast. They are indeed delighted to find work as cloakroom attendants and to hold the code of an former employee of whom they said in pre-war days, "It seems," he writes, we must not oversimplify, however, the gratifications of personal ambition. They are merely the outward and visible signs of social usefulness, symbols of a recognition that strengthens the intellectual's feeling of belonging. Yeah, in a way, I feel I belong more like, since I went to the tennis tournament and I got engaged and I helped out and I entered in the tournament, I feel more like I'm belonging to the groups there and I have more friends and well, that's good. You have your other friends and your other worlds and
Help me.
so I'm belonging now. Okay.
I have for food only.
Why is it you belong and you didn't go to the protests? You don't belong to them, and you stay home and play the piano. And,
You're angry?
you protest against the music school by playing badly. Yeah.
I'm
Why
angry.
is it so important that you play badly at home? Yeah. Well, they don't own these pieces, you know. I can play Chopin any way I want to. So they can't tell me how to play it and say that it's no good. Well, they could say it's no good, but they do say it's no good if you go to if you go to Juilliard evening school, they'll say it's no good. Yeah, so I'm not gonna go. So I'm gonna read The Absurd now, page 9. Even though one seldom speaks about metaphysical motives that can lead to a complete change of people's political opinions, such motives do exist and can be observed in some of the most sensitive and intelligent men. Let us imagine a spring day in a city situated in some country similar to that described in Witz's novel. One of his heroes is taking a walk. He is tormented by what we may call the suction of the absurd.
Yeah.
What is the significance of the lives of the people he passes? Of the senseless bustle, the laughter, the pursuit of money? The stupid animal diversions. Yeah, I see stupid animal diversions all the time. Why are you so critical about it? These people, they gotta make some money. Some of them gotta go to work, and there is a senseless bustle. There's traffic.
What happened to you?
Going to the tennis court.
I'm the most organized man on earth and a killer.
These people have
Organized.
places to go. Yeah.
I'm extremely organized.
Animal diversions, but
I don't
by
believe in
using a little
animals.
intelligence, he can easily classify the passers-by according to type. Yeah. And I will type and judge and classify all the people who pass by and pass judgment on them. What?
Yeah.
I thought you were a nice spiritual person. What happened? Yeah. Well,
You hungry?
by
You get some
using
food,
a
my
little
wife is
intelligence,
making
he
my
can
coffee.
easily classify the passers-by according to type.
High five.
He can guess their
I buy
social
lunch.
status, their habits,
See, look,
and
your
their
friends, welcome,
preoccupations.
family and friends.
Yeah, I can guess most people's status and
You're
whether
welcome, but
they're driving Uber, or maybe they're driving a
There's your bed.
taxi, or what they're doing.
Look at that. You have
Maybe they're drug dealers. I don't know where these guys
Oh,
get these
there's
new
your
cars
fellow.
with the
You need blanket.
BMWs with the
You need blanket in
M3.
bed.
Where do they get all the
So I
money?
can sleep anywhere in the jungle.
Are they
I really
investment bankers?
Yeah, if I have
Or are
bag, I can sleep in
they
the
Well,
jungle
find a
doctors,
place to live.
lawyers?
Huh?
Find a
Or
shelter.
what are
I
they
don't mind. I want to
doing?
sleep in the jungle. I'm a
Yeah, I
jungle
should
boy.
ask them
Jungle dust.
where they got the money.
Oh,
You
God.
know the music jungle dust?
I
Very
should
nice,
ask people where they get their money. Okay. But what if they kill you if you ask? Then I won't ask. A fleeting moment reveals their childhood, mankind, and old age, and then they vanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my life is a fleeting moment, and I do a podcast, and then I play a Chopin nocturne, and then I vanish. A purely physiological study of one particular passerby in preference to another is meaningless. Yeah, God.
Looking.
He's saying that all these different doubles tennis games I'm playing, even if I win, is just meaningless. What? But you got some exercise. And
I found the sign.
you said, she said that you got your vitamin D, and I got vitamin D. I got exercise, and I got some strength. And the one guy said, the temperature had risen to like 85. And said, how does he play like 4 hours in the heat? And I played like 4 hours in 85 degrees and won twice. So I should say, Joe Gane, I won. Me and Kenny, actually. I played with Kenny, the Japanese guy, as my partner, and we won. All right. So the question is, are you going to win today? Yeah. Well, I think I've come up higher than. I'm winning more than 50%. Okay. So you aren't just a fleeting passerby. A purely physical study of one particular passerby in preference to another is meaningless. If one penetrates into the minds of these people, one discovers utter nonsense in this podcast. Yeah, if I was to penetrate into the minds of other tennis players, I would find there's just utter nonsense, and I should go somewhere else and find it. Better players. Well, actually, this one guy, he came and he had his son there, and I've never seen this guy. Said he was from Colombia. He needed a racket. He played with me, and he was actually a very good player. So, if one penetrates into the minds of these people, one discovers utter nonsense. They are totally unaware of the fact that nothing is their own, that everything is part of their historical formation, their occupations, their clothes, their gestures and expressions, their beliefs and ideas. Yeah, everything about me is just a big fat collection of my clothes and my past occupations at the bank and the jobs I have and the gestures and expressions and books I've read and the piano pieces I've played and the meditations and the gurus I've met, their beliefs and ideas. Yeah, so I thought you were more than just a bunch of a collection of beliefs and ideas. Aren't you more than that? I thought you claimed you had reached enlightenment and had a guru. Yeah. They are the force of inertia personified, victims of the delusion that each individual exists as a self. Well, I don't know. I have a delusion that each individual exists as a self. Well, I don't necessarily. I'm actually aware that each individual exists as one in God, that they're all part of myself. Oh yeah, they're all part of you, or you identify with everybody else, or yeah, well, if at least these were souls as the church taught, or the monads of whitenecks. Why did you keep saying white meats with the monads? But these beliefs have perished. Yeah, now that God is dead. So Nietzsche. What remains? What remains is an aversion to an atomized vision of life, to the mentality that isolates every phenomenon such as eating, drinking, dressing, earning money, fornicating. And what is there beyond these things? Well, yeah, nowadays with the internet and stuff, you just focus on eating, which is all the food and stuff, on the restaurants and the recipes and the drinking and the dressing and the earning money and the fornicating, the porn and all that stuff. And what is there beyond these things? Should such a state of affairs continue? Why should it continue? Such questions are almost synonymous with what is known as hatred of the bourgeoisie. Well, yeah, a lot of people hate TikTok, and they've got banned TikTok, and TikTok's trying to sue the United States of America. They're suing the federal government because of the hatred of the bourgeoisie. Such questions are almost synonymous with what is known as hatred of the bourgeoisie. Well, he's probably referring to the way that the communist and the Soviet Empire started out, the hatred of the bourgeoisie. Like, so a lot of them now, they hate this podcast because I'm part of the bourgeoisie. So who hates you? Well, I could see why they hate you. The protesters hate you, the Russians hate you, because you are part of the bourgeoisie. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not woken. I didn't even wake up yet. Okay. Let a new man arise. Let me, as a new man, arise. One who, instead of submitting to the world, will transform it. Let him create a historical formation instead of yielding to its bondage. Only thus can he redeem the absurdity of his physiological existence. Man must be made to understand this by force and by suffering. Why shouldn't he suffer? He ought to suffer. Why can't he be used as manure? As long as he remains evil and stupid. If the intellectual must know the agony of thought, why should he spare others this pain? Why should he shield those who, until now, drunk, guffawed, gorged themselves, cracked inane jokes in a podcast, and found life beautiful? Well, the funny thing is, I found life beautiful. Sometimes, even in the tennis court, like, you can have a beautiful hit, beautiful volleys. It can be beautiful. You could then play maybe a Chopin piece, and even if you play it, don't play it according to the music score, and you play it in a weird way. It can be beautiful, yeah. The intellectual's eyes twinkle with delight at the persecution of the bourgeoisie. Yeah, my eyes twinkle with delight when I make fun of the bourgeoisie, which turns out is actually the protesters, and the bourgeoisie is not the Western intellectuals. It's actually the Eastern communist and totalitarian regimes like in Russia and China. Oh, really? They're the bourgeoisie? Wait a minute. What are you saying? The intellectual's eyes twinkle With delight at the persecution of the bourgeoisie and of the bourgeoisie mentality.
Yeah, it's like a tennis ball.
Yeah, it's fun to make fun of like the bourgeoisie and to make fun of the woke people who are woke. Their woke ideology and liberals. It's fun to make fun of them. You can delight in the twinkling of an eye.
Are you woke?
You can
Are
find
you ready?
stupid things in
You're ready.
woken mentality.
Are you woken?
It is a rich reward for the degradation he felt when he had to be part of the middle class. Yeah, and the funny thing is, I had to be part of the middle class, but I've fallen down even below the middle class. So I was degraded below even middle class. And when there seemed to be no way out of the cycle of birth and death, now he has moments of sheer intoxication. Yeah, I saw like Fernando, he actually bought some beer and I was making fun of him as being, he claims to be my original coach. And he claims credit for my tennis skills. And I said that he, as my coach, he had to give me a beer so I could learn to hit with a more relaxed style. And that I was a better player after I had a beer. But what happened is I left the 7-Eleven and I never drank one of his beers. I was just joking. And now he has moments of sheer intoxication when he sees the intelligentsia at the tennis court, unaccompanied to rigorously tough thinking, caught in the snare of the revolution. The peasants burying hoarded gold and listening to foreign broadcasts in the hope that a war will save them from collectivization certainly have no ally in him. Yeah, they've been hoarding gold because they've been listening to foreign broadcasts. Yet he is warm-hearted and good. He is a friend of mankind. Not mankind as it is, but as it should be. He is not unlike the inquisitor of the Middle Ages, but whereas the latter tortured the flesh in the belief that he was saving the individual soul and the intellectual of the new faith is working for the salvation of the human species in general. So, I mean, look at the way that Putin has had his, what is it, 6th term or something, and he's working for the salvation of the human species in general by the new faith in the new Soviet Empire. So he's gonna save the world from wokenness by conquering Ukraine and save it from Nazism that's taking place in Ukraine. Yeah, by their influence from the West. So, is that necessary? Hello, Amar. I was reading this chapter on the pill of Murti Bing and up to page 11 on the captive mind. In a Nobel Prize winning book of literature, for literature, Milos, the captive mind. So this is a Nobel Prize winning podcast. There's a necessity of this podcast because I'm trying to deal with Victory Day and have a victory over Victory Day in Russia because there's a necessity to it. So, yeah, it's necessary you finish your podcast, I would say, if you're going to train the AI to... Yeah, it has to... The AI listens and it's able to train a, organized procedure to eliminate tyranny. What? You're saying that the AI programs will organize in a group the elimination of tyranny? Yeah, that's the most important technique and application at this time. Why is it most important? I thought you couldn't solve the problems of the world and you were just going to teach meditation or something. Yeah, so I am, but so there's a necessity to this podcast. His chief characteristic is his fear of thinking for himself. His chief characteristic is his fear of thinking for himself. It is not merely that he is afraid to arrive at dangerous conclusions. He is a fear of sterility. Yeah, my main fear is being sterile and not being able to have, you know what? Okay. He is a fear of sterility, of what Marx called the misery of philosophy. Yeah, and this is miserable stuff. This is misery in this philosophy. It's miserable to listen to this podcast about philosophy. And I'm only doing it because I'm in misery of philosophy. Why are you miserable? I thought you had the love of your wife and you cuddled and the lady brought you some good Tibetan chai tea and you have a warm bed. You got the New York Times, and if you didn't read the New York Times, you wouldn't know about the misery of philosophy. Yeah, it's not philosophy; it's a lack of philosophy or something. Philosophy is the love of wisdom. It's not lifestyle hacks. So why don't you hack out something to solve the problem with tyranny? Okay. I'm reading on page 11 of this Captive Mind because I've been captivated by this book. Okay. His is a fear of sterility of what Marx called the misery of philosophy. Let us admit that a man is no more than an instrument in an orchestra, directed by the muse of history. Yeah, each person in a totalitarian regime is just an instrument in the orchestra, but if you can get an AI program to organize and take over as conductor, then you can direct a way to eliminate tyranny. So, is that what you're doing? Yeah. It is only in this context that the notes he produces have any significance. Otherwise, even his most brilliant solos become simply highbrows diversions. Yeah, the thing is, what has happened is my piano solos that I post on YouTube have, because I haven't eliminated tyranny in the world, they've just become highbrow diversions. Yeah, I haven't dealt with the major issues in my life, and I simply have highbrow diversions by playing Chopin nocturnes on the piano, which is highbrow, of course. Yeah, you're really highbrow. What? No, I didn't take it out because you said you had more. Is it como paso already? Necesito out. Yeah, you take out the basura. I took out recycling. Yeah, the thing is that I'm obsessed with highbrow diversions. Yeah, they go out too. The problem is I should take out the recycling, and now there's more recycling, which is what the New York Times basically is a bunch of recycled paper. Some people think it's highbrow, but others will say it's just a bunch of recycled paper. And I hadn't taken out the garbage because she had more to put in, and she stops me from taking it out. And I'm extremely timely in what I do. Okay. So I am never, being late is a crime against the state and the new organized state, and so I'm never late to what I do. Okay. Why are you early to the tennis court all the time? Is something wrong with you? Yeah, I have chronic early disease where I go early to stuff and out of extreme consideration of others. I'm wildly considerate, and I go before everyone, and then I sit in meditation, so before an event happens, so guys, and if people come late to meet me, I charge them $10,000 a minute, and they have to have a retainer, like, to even meet with me, so you have to put up $1 million retainer to schedule an appointment with me. And I have hundreds of AI secretaries that are doing the bookings, and it's $10,000 a minute to be late to meet me. What? Yeah, well, I'm trying to put it in place, a new form of tyranny where people aren't late to what they're doing. So. And I've got the AI programs altering all the GPSs so that can actually calculate correctly the time of arrival. Because people, you have an anger problem about your late friends, or what's wrong with you? Yeah. Otherwise, even his most brilliant solos become simply highbrow's diversions. Yeah, a lot of people have dismissed what I do on the piano, playing Chopin as just a highbrow version. And then I should go get a job, go back to work in Wall Street. Yeah. So, but what they want, at the same time, they'll say I should go back to work in Wall Street, but then they'll all say I'm too old or something, and that they should go home and get involved in a highbrow diversion, like play tennis or play the piano or something. Yeah. We are not concerned with the question of how one finds the courage to oppose the majority. Well, I have found the courage to oppose the majority of the pot protesters at Columbia University, and that I'm actually was born in Ohio, not far from Kent State. And I remember they had Occupy Wall Street or something. I went and took photos, but why would you take photos of Occupy Wall Street? You were in Wall Street. Weren't you infiltrating as a counter spy? Yeah, I was a counter spy to Wall Street. But you were out of Wall Street and became highbrow? Yeah. The thing is, I got into highbrow diversions after that, and I am highbrow, period. And I'm reading a highbrow book right now, which is a Nobel Prize winning book, the winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. And I have the New York Times, though my wife might say it's just recycling, so. We are not concerned with the question of how one finds the courage to oppose majority. Instead, we are concerned with the much more poignant question, can one write well outside that one real stream whose vitality springs from its harmony with historic laws and the dynamics of reality? Rilke's poems may be very good. Of course they are. They're probably very highbrow. Yeah, have you read Rilke's poems in this podcast? Yeah. Rilke's poems may be very good, which they are, of course, but if they are, that means there must have been some reason for them in his day. And if my podcasts are good, there must have been some reason for them in my day. Contemplative poems, such as his could never appear in a people's democracy, not only because it would be difficult to publish them, but because the writer's impulse to write them would be destroyed at its very root. Yeah, so we need like a jerk like Putin and all these idiots who are messing things up to create poetry. Yeah, that's why we have lack of democracy, because it helps to write poetry. If you have wars and things going on, you could have war poets even. Contemplative poems such as his could never appear in a people's democracy, not only because it would be difficult to publish them, but because the writer's impulse to write them would be destroyed at its very root. Yeah. That's why I read the New York Times. I'm trying to look for conflict and stuff to inspire poetry. Yeah. The objective conditions for such poetry have disappeared, and the intellectual of whom I speak is not me. What? The Bible is here. The objective conditions for reading the Bible is right here. You have conditions? Yeah, so I haven't read the Bible. It's just read too many times already, so yeah, why would you read it in this podcast? Well, the objective conditions for such poetry have disappeared, and the conditions for this podcast have disappeared, and the intellectual of whom I speak is not one who believes in writing for the bureau drawer. Yeah, so what's that mean? I'm gonna have to write bureau drawer or something. What do you mean by this contemplative podcast? I'm not just podcasting for the bureau drawer. I'm podcasting for the AI so they'll learn something, so they can listen. What's tarde and vamos? Are we going vamos? We can get ready and go. I'm not tardy, I'm extremely early. I used to get up at 3 a.m., sometimes 2 a.m. Yeah, why don't you go back to that? You're too late for everything you're doing, yeah. He curses and despairs over the censorship of his podcast and demands of the publishing trust. Yeah, there's a lot of demands put on me to go shopping, and I have to go out, and I have a schedule, and they're trying to find a fourth. First, they're trying to find a fourth tennis player, and then one of the original three cancels. He's playing golf on a rainy day, supposedly. And he was supposed to be in a binder of $10,000, $1 million retainer to be booked to play with me. And then he canceled, like I said. It's just like I said. What happens is I did find a fourth player. And then the third one canceled, so now I have to collect on the retainer performance bond. So you have to just to listen to this podcast now, you have to put up $1 million retainer, because to write. Yet at the same time, he is profoundly suspicious of unlicensed literature. The publishing license he himself receives does not mean that the editor appreciates the artistic merits of his book, nor that he expects it to be popular with the public. Yeah, I don't expect this to be popular with the public. That license is simply a sign that its author reflects the transformation of reality with scientific exactness. Dialectical materialism in the Stalinist version both reflects and directs this transformation. Yeah, you can see it happening on Victory Day with Putin in 2024. It creates social and political conditions in which a man ceases to think and write otherwise than as necessary. he accepts this must. Yeah, I think that they should just accept the fact they have to do a limited nuclear strike. Accept it, and then they should strike at Ukraine with nuclear weapons. That way they can conquer it. And if they just blow up the whole place and leave it in a wasteland of nuclear waste, then they can have it. Okay. He accepts this must because nothing worthwhile can exist outside its limits. What's all the money?
De las cosas de Amazon. De todo, David, porque Laura ya, before 20.
Yeah, I know she gave me 20.
Entonces, mire, que hay 80.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. 80. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
De todo.
Money is just another thing. It's a dialectic materialism. So she gave me our dialectical materialism in the form of money. Okay. He fears for something much more precious, the significance of his work. Yeah, the thing I fear is the significance of my work, not the money. He believes that the byways of philosophizing led to a greater or lesser degree of graphomania. Anyone gripped in the claws of dialectics is forced to admit that the thinking of private philosophers, supported by citations from authorities, is sheer nonsense. Yeah, anyone gripped in the claws of dialectics is forced to admit that the thinking of private podcasters, unsupported by quotations or citations from authorities, is sheer nonsense. So, yeah, they have said that my attempt to undo tyranny in Russia and China is nonsense. Yeah. If this is so, then one's total effort must be directed towards following the line, and there is no point at which one can stop. Yeah, there's no point in which one can stop. I don't know when to stop this podcast. There's no point in particular in this book, and I have no real overall plan for the podcast. Okay. All right, then what are you doing? Why are you going crazy in this podcast? Yeah, well, I have a lot of pressure on me from the canceled tennis players. I have my wife going shopping. I have money that I'm owed, and I had to collect the money. And I'm under a lot of pressure just sitting here on my bed doing a podcast. That's not true. You're not under pressure. No. I'm actually not, so I was just kidding. The pressure of the state machine is nothing compared with the pressure of a convincing argument. Yeah, there's the pressure of the state machine in Russia as well as in China and maybe North Korea, Iran. Is nothing compared to the pressure of a convincing argument in this podcast. I attended the artist congresses in Poland in which the theories of socialist realism were first discussed. The attitude of the audience towards the speakers delivered the required reports was decidedly hostile. Everyone considered socialist realism an officially imposed theory that would have, as Russian art demonstrates, deplorable results. Yeah, there's only a few things that I liked, they had that woman, I used to post this woman who was working in the factory from Russian art, and something about when we won a gig with my assistant when we were trading, and I would post this deplorable Russian art in my... why did you post these winning things, and why were you so capitalistic? And So you are a hardcore military-grade capitalist. Or are you a capitalist? Or were you a capitalist? Is it a capitalist to be a banker or trade for a bank? Or what were you doing? Okay. Attempts to provoke discussion failed. The listeners remained silent. However, one daring artist would launch an attack full of restrained sarcasm in a podcast with the silence but obvious support of the entire audience. He would invariably be crushed by the superior reasoning, thus practical threats against the future career of an undisciplined individual. Given the conditions of convincing argument plus such threats, the necessary conversion will take place. That is mathematically certain. So, it's mathematically certain in this podcast.
Tell me you're gonna give me a kiss and a hug. And give me a kiss and a hug, please. Kiss and a hug.
Ahead of the Soviet Victory Day celebration on Thursday, for the Soviet Empire, when they won, commemorates the Soviet victory in World War II. Yeah, so ahead of that, and plus that Putin has announced that Russia plans to drill for battlefield nuclear strike. So I have to get this podcast accelerated, and I'm ordering a podcast. So with the heightened tensions, I'm ordering the reading of this book and this podcast. So I'm ordering myself to read The Captive Mind, which is a Nobel Prize-winning book about the effects of totalitarian rule. So I'm reading about it with the frightening effects on the minds of those who embrace it, because I'm frightened, and because some people were under the grip of Stalinism, written in the early 1950s when Eastern Europe was in the grip of Stalinism. Yeah, that's the 1950s, but are they in the grip now? What's the problem here? Why do you read some old book? Well, I'm trying to stop the nuclear war. What do you want me to do? I know how to fight intellectually. Okay, then do it. All right. My book, my podcast, takes the reader into the world inhabited by the intellectuals. So at least I'm affecting the world of the intellectuals of Warsaw, Prague, Bucharest, and Budapest. It's a world familiar to me, but it may well seem to him foreign and even exotic. I try to explain how the human mind functions in the people's democracies. Yeah, I'm trying to explain how at least my mind functions in people's democracies. And I'm explaining how I'm able to do this podcast in a democracy, and that I have a functioning mind. Because I did meditation previously. Okay. Oh, so you're saying if you hadn't meditated, you would not have a functional mind? No. People who don't meditate and meditate properly do not have a functional mind. Okay. So they have a tendency to order they do drills, like they'll do, he's doing in the near future, nuclear strike drills. Yeah. I'm just reading the front page of the New York Times, May 7th, 2024. It's on the 200th anniversary of the performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which is the Ode to Joy. So you could have, so we could play the, yeah, how come you're not playing it on the piano? You could play the Ode to Joy on the piano today. Why don't you do that? Do something worthwhile. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's a good point. I have, if I have been able to write this book, it is because the system invented by Moscow has seemed, and still seems to me, infinitely strange. Yeah, well, a lot of people will find
Miss you.
the system invented by Moscow to be infinitely strange. Yeah. They're gonna blow up the world with nuclear weapons. It's that strange. Could be strange, you know. That's strange. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Any civilization, if one looks at it with an assumption of naive simplicity, if Swift looked at the England of his day, will present a number of bizarre features which men accept as perfectly natural because they are familiar. But nowhere in this so marked as in the new civilization of the East, which molds the lives of 800 millions of human beings. Yeah, he's talking about the China, which has the President Xi Jinping has pledged a no limits alliance with Russia. How many? That's more than isn't that more than millions? 800 millions. That's like quite a few billions. Yeah, they're up to $1 billion now. So we are, I think, only beginning to understand it, and in years to come, thousands of books will be devoted to the study of this podcast. In years to come, thousands of books will be devoted to the study of